Senate Majority Leader John Thune, you could be forgiven for thinking this was February 2nd and Groundhog's Day, because the last time we were on, they tried to force a vote on the War Powers Act as well. What would be different this time?
Well, it's the same thing all over again, Dana, as you point out. I mean, I think that the Democrats, in many ways, and you've seen some of the statements they've made, at least rhetorically, are almost cheering against American success in this region, which obviously strikes at the very heart of America's national security interest. So it's really unfortunate. They continue to put up these show votes. The president is operating under his authority, the Article 2 branch of the government, as commander-in-chief, and doing what needs to be done to ensure that America's vital national security interests are preserved and protected.
Chris Murphy is a senator from Connecticut. It's pretty surprising, you know. I know things have gotten heated. Civil discourse is kind of out the window, maybe not forever, hopefully. But Chris Murphy left the country, went to Spain to a big global progressive mobilization summit, and said this.
Donald Trump in our country is trying to end our democracy. We are not on the verge of a totalitarian takeover. We are in the middle of it.
Do you think he actually believes that, or is it a way to try to gin up support from the far left to support maybe a future presidential run?
I think it's totally pandering to the base, Dana. It seems like half the Democrat caucus in the Senate is running for president, and everybody's got to try and out-left flank the other candidate. And his statements, I mean, have been so over the top. I mean, again, when you talk about cheerleading against your own team, that's exactly what he's doing. And I think that the rhetoric on the floor, the rhetoric in media interviews, and obviously these perpetual war powers votes that they're forcing us to take on the floor of the Senate are designed to do one thing, and that's to appease and satisfy a very far left base, liberal base in this country the Democrats are all having to answer to and trying to appease.
There's another big problem that you're dealing with, and that is that the Department of Homeland Security still does not have full funding. I believe this is Senator Schumer on Capitol Hill yesterday. Watch here.
Unfortunately, Republicans seem to have a different priority. $140 billion for ICE and Border Patrol. No reforms, no accountability, no strings attached. Let it sink in. $140 billion for ICE, $0 to lower your costs. That's these days what the Republican Party seems to stand for.
Okay, I'm going to give you a shot at answering that.
Well, you know, Schumer, the chance for reforms went away when they walked away from the table. They did not want to fund law enforcement. Dana, this is all about open borders and defund the police. That is the Democrat agenda when it comes to our border here at the homeland, when it comes to national security interest. That is the Democrat agenda. And so we're having to do this the hard way. I would rather do it the easy way. We tried to do it with Democrats. We tried to do it in a bipartisan way. They walked away from the table. So now we're being forced to do it with Republican-only votes. And we are going to forward fund ICE and CBP, the two agencies that are critically important when it comes to law enforcement on our borders, and ensure that through the end of the Trump presidency, if they're funded. Because I don't see any scenario where Democrats ultimately are going to say, we are going to fund these agencies. They can't do it. And it's the same thing I mentioned earlier. It's their far left base that is, running the show around here and forcing these Democrats into positions where they can't even do basic things like fund government. So we're going to forward fund it for 3 years and make sure that through the Trump presidency that ICE and CBP have the resources they need to do the job that we ask them to do, and that is to keep our border safe and secure and our streets safe. If
you guys can't get an agreement soon, Secretary Mullen said he's running out of money to pay salaries. I know President Trump did the executive order to help pay the TSA agents. So what are the consequences? What would Americans see if all of a sudden there are no salaries for him to be able to make those payments?
Well, and just so you put it in perspective here, Dana, DHS has been unfunded for longer this fiscal year, than it's been funded. So these employees, a lot of them, have been going without pay for more than they've been getting paychecks, if you can imagine that. Now, fortunately for ICE and CBP, because of what we did last year, we pre-funded. So those two agencies are currently getting funded. There is a bill in front of the House of Representatives right now that would fund the other agencies, and they are awaiting action on the Senate to forward fund ICE and CBP to act on that. But the Secretary is absolutely right. I mean, they're running out of money. These agencies need to be funded. They're vital to America's national security interests. We've made it possible for that to happen, and we're going to continue doing that by voting on a budget resolution, hopefully sometime tomorrow, that ensures for the next 3 years, ICE and CBP in particular are funded into the future.